Number 11. Human skull. If you Google fisherman and human skull, a disturbing number of different stories will pop up. But this one is quite the coincidence. In 2007, British fisherman Barry Hunter caught one of the strangest and most shocking things ever. He was fishing in the North Sea when something extra tumbled out of his net with the other fish, a piece of human skull. Being a law-abiding citizen and a decent human being, he took the remains to the police, who, after some investigating, learned the bit of the skull belonged to someone named Brian Allison. When they told Barry the news, he couldn't believe it. This was actually his friend. Brian Allison, along with his brother Robert Temple, went missing in 2004 when their vessel sank off the northeast coast near Tynemouth. The boat's wreckage was found, but no trace of either man was ever discovered. Until 2007. In the net of Allison's friend, Barry Hunter. I'm not a mathematician, but the odds of that have to be astronomical. For an extra twist, the news of the identification reached Brian's mother on the day of what would have been Robert's 37th birthday. The strange circumstances of this story are almost hard to believe. Number 10. Cold War missile. One of the weirdest things caught in the ocean was pulled out of the water 14 miles off the coast of Washington. The thing was encrusted with barnacles and wrapped in seaweed. It also came from the Cold War. This thing looked like a missile, and it was discovered by Eric Ide, who had pulled it on board his trawler inside a fishing net. At first, he thought it was a bomb from World War II, but once he got the thing on board and took a better look at it, he found Cyrillic letters underneath the barnacles. Cyrillic is the Russian alphabet. As you can imagine, Eric was pretty alarmed. He phoned the US Coast Guard and they showed up in record time, sending a helicopter to fly over the location and see what was going on. After all, it's not every day someone catches a Russian missile in the ocean off the coast of Washington. It was actually the Navy who ordered Eric to take his trawler to Port Angeles immediately. There, the Navy took the device and told Eric it was some kind of communication machine from the Cold War, though they didn't really say what it had been used for exactly or why it looked an awful lot like a missile. Number 9. The Deep Chimera. During a research trip to the Mid-Atlantic Ridge way back in 2004, scientists caught a rather bizarre animal from the deepest part of the ocean. The creature is known as a deep-sea chimera, a type of weird fish closely related to sharks. The biggest difference is that the chimera and the shark branched off from the same evolutionary tree about 400 million years before today. The chimera is in fact a type of cartilaginous fish, meaning its body is made up of hard cartilage instead of bone. They live deep in the ocean at depths of up to 8,500 feet, which is why it's so rare for anyone to see one, never mind to catch one. It gets its name from the hybrid creature of Greek mythology that had the head and body of a lion, a goat on its back, and a tail that ended with the head of a snake. So maybe this fish isn't quite as creepy, but it's still weird. These fish can grow up to almost 5 feet in length, and there are quite a few different species. What really separates the chimera from the shark is its mouth. Instead of having jaws lined with sharp teeth, the chimera has 3 pairs of grinding tooth plates that it uses to pulverize its meals and rip them apart, almost like dull saw blades. Number 8. The real Loch Ness Monster? At Loch Ness in Scotland, monster hunting enthusiasts used a specialized marine drone to look through the deepest depths of the infamous loch to try to find the most elusive beast in all of nature. And, believe it or not, they really did find a monster. But according to ABC News, it wasn't the one they were looking for. While scanning through the murky darkness for any sign of Nessie, the research team caught sight of something that looked familiar. Upon closer inspection, they realized they had caught the Loch Ness Monster, only this one wasn't alive. It was a nearly 30-foot-long replica used in a film from the 1970s that was sunk in the loch 50 years ago. But what could this mean for the truth of the Loch Ness Monster? Are the sightings of the mystical beast really just based on some plastic prop at the bottom of the loch? Well, probably not, seeing as the prop had its inflatable humps removed before it sank. But still, it was quite the coincidence. The team also discovered a giant shipwreck on the bottom of the loch, but no slithering green monster. Number 7. A giant grouper. A teenage girl went fishing near Marco Island, off the coast of Florida. She was with her brother, her mother, and her stepfather. At only 16 years old, she wasn't expecting to hook any kind of extraordinary fish, yet she managed to reel in a monstrous Goliath grouper that weighed an estimated 583 pounds. To make this story even more incredible, it was only the girl's second time fishing. She told local news that the biggest fish she had caught previously was an ordinary salmon. This kid is obviously a natural when it comes to fishing. There are skilled fishermen out there who could barely grapple with a grouper of this size. And yet, she had the monster hooked and in the boat in just 15 minutes. The girl only weighed 115 pounds, about 5 times less than the fish. The sheer strength of her breaks every rule of physics. Perhaps, in the moment, she somehow gave herself superhuman powers to pull the grouper out of the water? Here's the second amazing thing about the catch. According to the International Game Fish Association, the heaviest Goliath grouper ever caught by a woman weighed only 366 pounds. And it was caught back in 1965. As for the overall world record, that was 680 pounds. So this 16-year-old came pretty close to breaking literally all the records. Number 6. A dead body. While trawling in the Arctic Ocean, a group of fishermen pulled up one thing nobody ever wants to have on their boat: a dead body. The ship was sailing slightly north of Norway when the crew made the grisly discovery. At first, they thought it was just a pile of old clothes in the back of the net. They realized they were wrong when the crewmen took a closer look and saw body parts inside the pieces of clothing. It was such a dramatic discovery that the crew had to head to the mainland for the corpse to be handed over to the police and identified. Here's where things get spooky. The place where the body was found is between the international waters of Norway and Russia, in a kind of gray zone. According to The Independent, people have been going missing in these remote waters in recent years, suggesting the body may have belonged to a murder victim. Then again, it could just be a fisherman who drank a bit too much and fell off his boat. Number 5. Attack of the Orcas. On the morning of March 16th, a whale-watching vessel caught something absolutely amazing and horrifying at the same time. The vessel was navigating through the Bremer Canyon system, a collection of marine trenches a few dozen miles from Bremer Bay, Australia. Those on board witnessed a group of orca whales working together to hunt and take down a blue whale. Something so rare that this is the first time such an event was ever caught on video. The blue whale was only a juvenile, about 50 feet long. Adults can usually grow to be at least 90 feet. The waters were filled to the brim with around 70 killer whales, each of them performing a specific job in the hunting ritual. They actually bullied the huge blue whale into a shallow part of the continental shelf, the way ancient humans used to drive antelope off cliffs. The attack went on for hours in full view of the luckiest whale watchers ever. Or unluckiest, depending on which way you see it. The orcas continued biting at the blue whale's face, keeping it exactly where they wanted. Eventually, there was a great bubble of red that burst on the surface like a balloon full of blood. Some flesh floated for a few seconds, then everything was gone. Scientists know that killer whales can hunt together, but an actual hunt like this has never before been fully documented, until now. And yeah, nature is frightening. Number 4. Mermaid in a net. Back in 2012, Animal Planet uploaded a video of what appeared to be a mermaid caught in a net. There were no details provided of where the fishing vessel was when it captured the alleged mermaid. Nobody knows where the footage came from, but it was obviously shocking. The video footage showed a group of fishermen pulling up a net, just like on any other ordinary day. But when they got close to the net, something inside it began to freak out. The men started screaming, the thing inside the net was flailing around, and then its hand burst through the holes of the net. And this was the real shocker, because the hand seemed to be webbed, like how you would imagine a mermaid's hand to look. The fishermen panicked and dropped the net back into the ocean, and the mermaid was never seen again. The video has never been officially confirmed by scientists, but it's still haunting the internet today as some of the best potential proof of the existence of mermaids. Number 3. Pregnant shark. Off the coast of Taiwan, fishermen caught a great white shark that measured over 12 feet in length. But that wasn't the only shocking thing about the great beast. It was also pregnant. found to be carrying 14 baby sharks. This is an incredibly rare thing to witness in the wild, as pregnant sharks are almost never caught. Plus, the shark was a variable giant. The fisherman who caught it sold the monstrous specimen for $2,000. And a researcher in ocean biodiversity who saw the shark said that in 20 years of marine ecology, it was the biggest great white they had ever seen in their life. As brutal and cruel as the catch was, seeing as the shark was pregnant, it gave researchers a unique chance to study the reproductive mode of the great white shark, something that hasn't really been done before. Inside her belly were 14 fully formed babies. The great white actually lays eggs, and then the babies grow inside of her, something unique in the animal kingdom. Number 2. Monster tuna. Off the coast of Texas, a fisherman broke state records after catching the biggest bluefin tuna ever. The monster fish weighed an outstanding 876 pounds and measured over 10 feet long. The battle for the fish began at roughly 9 o'clock in the morning. Right away, Troy Lancaster from Port Aransas realized he had something huge on the end of his line. He struggled with the fish until just after 6 p.m. It took over 8 hours to reel the bugger in, though the last hour was apparently the worst because the fish had already given up and stopped fighting back. For a full 60 minutes, Lancaster had to reel in the dead weight of the fish. After getting the huge tuna to shore, it was measured and confirmed by the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department to be the largest tuna ever captured in the state. The previous record was in 1985 with a fish that weighed 70 pounds less. This tuna was about 19 years old, and according to Newsweek, could be worth almost $3 million. Number 1. Flying spaghetti monster. The flying spaghetti monster was recently caught at a depth of 4,000 feet in the Atlantic Ocean, filmed by a remote control underwater vehicle. If you're not sure what the flying spaghetti monster is, it's the deity of a parody religion known as the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. The people who participate in the mock religion claim to believe in a giant flying spaghetti monster made up of, well, spaghetti and meatballs. Ramen. But nobody ever thought the creature really existed. Of course, this wasn't a deity, but what was the strange creature caught at the bottom of the ocean that looked like a mass of floating spaghetti? According to experts from the National Oceanography Center, it was a type of siphonophore, a creature kind of like a jellyfish made up of colonies of thousands of much smaller individual creatures. That's why it looks like a monster made out of spaghetti strands. It's rare to find one that looks this way, and even just rare to see them at all because they live so deep in the ocean. What's your favorite ocean catch? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching today's video. Be sure to subscribe and come back soon for more.